What is up, YouTube? Mr. King coming at you live. Not from the studio, from the school. I'm back. Better than ever. Alright, please pause the video now and answer the questions here. First thing, make sure you turned in the gizmo on Monday. And the next, go to Tuesday, Ionic Bonds, Part 2, the notes. Now we're going to learn about the notes this time. So the first thing, I gave you the textbook definition of an ionic bond. So it says a bond formed when one metal element transfers its electrons to a non-metal element and forms a positive and negative ion. Fun fact, since there's a positive and a negative, positive and negatives opposites attract, so they'll want to be together. And that's why it's a bond, because opposites attract and the positive wants to be with the negative. Now, when I said simple definition, I wanted you to try and come up with a definition in your own words. So to show you what I mean, here's my simple definition. Bond made when a metal moves its electrons to a nonmetal and forms a positive and negative. So some things to note, instead of using the word formed or transfers, I try to use simpler words. Like instead of saying formed, I said made. Instead of saying transfer, I just said moved, which you can see in this cartoon. And also, I also took out some words they didn't need. Like instead of saying one metal element, you should know that an element can be a metal, so I don't have to say element, I could just say a metal. So those are some ways that you can make a definition more simpler. I also used some shorthand, so instead of writing out positive, I just put a little positive symbol. And this is saying negative, I put in a little negative. So those are some things you need to be thinking about when you go to college. How can you put things in your own words so you can learn them better and write them down faster? Next, you should know this. This is review. What is a cation? And what is an anion? Next, this part is going to be fill in the blank. So you should remember the left side of the table is metals, the right side is nonmetals. The metals have less valence electrons. Remember, it goes 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then 8. The nonmetals are over here. So which one? So fill in the blank. Blank, choose either metal or nonmetal, are more likely to get rid of their valence electrons because they need to lose electrons to have a full orbital. The opposite, blank, usually gain electrons, so they are blank and anions because they need to go up. They need to gain electrons so they can go up to 8 for full orbital. Next is some review from a few weeks ago when we did electronegativity. Remember, electronegativity is how badly an element wants an electron. So figure out, is it oxygen or beryllium that wants an electron more? Tell me, how did you figure it out? The periodic table on the next slide should help. Okay? Next. So oxygen wants an electron more. It's closer to 8, so it needs to gain electrons. How many electrons will it steal from beryllium, though? How many valence electrons does oxygen need? And how do you know that that's true? Pause the video now, try and figure it out. Next. Okay, so oxygen steals 2 electrons from beryllium. What will oxygen's charge be now? Now that it just gained 2 electrons, which are negative. What will oxygen's charge be now? Okay, I hope you liked my little cartoon. Next. So oxygen gained 2 electrons. It gained 2 things that are negative, so it gained a minus and another minus. So now it's 2 minus. What does oxygen want to be with? Which one would oxygen prefer? Does oxygen want to be with a +2, +1, a 0, a -1, or a -2? And the picture is a hint. Okay? Here's some recap. Here are the rules for ionic bonds. So oxygen is 2- because it stole It took these 2 electrons away from beryllium and gave it to itself so it could be full. So beryllium lost 2 electrons, so beryllium is 2 plus. Be, beryllium and oxygen are a great match because they both gave each other a complete orbital. Oxygen need to gain 2 to have 8, and beryllium need to lose 2 to go back down to a full orbital here. So that's how ionic bonds work. They need to mate with somebody that's going to give them a full, complete, happy life with a full, complete orbital. Remember, the first orbital has 2 valence electrons, but after that, they want to have 8 valence electrons. Okay, so then I have some practice questions for you. Nitrogen has 5 valence electrons. It has 5, so which metal does it want to be with? Does it want to be with lithium, barium, or aluminum? Okay, and then fill in the blank. Blank, so nitrogen wants to be with blank because it can steal blank electrons to have 8. Let's try and think about it. And remember, non-metals want to be with metals. And their goal is to get up to 8. They want 8 electrons. Okay? So, since nitrogen has 5, you can do the math. It needs to get to 8. It has 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. So it needs to find a metal with 3 valence electrons. And aluminum has just that. So nitrogen and aluminum will go together to make 8. Or you can think about it this way. A different one would be barium has 1 valence electron. And what's 8 minus 1? 7. So it would want something like bromine with 7 valence electrons. So try and find ones that'll pair up to get you 8 valence electrons total. The metal will lose them, the non-metal will gain them. Here's some practice here. So you're wanting to do is drag the metals together to show me which ones will go together naturally. So if you think lithium will go with sulfur, drag them here. Just to show which ones go together. If you think, so just show, put them together. Those aren't the right answers, just to show. The metals are on the left. These are the metals, these are the non-metals. Figure out which ones will go together and put them together. Okay. Last thing, why? Why do metals and non-metals like to be together in ionic bonds? That's the last thing that you need to think about. Consider what you learned today. Use positive, negative 8 valence electrons in ionic bond in your answer to say why do they like to be together. That's the last thing. Before you go, please take the survey. After that, you are all good. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.